Hey there again, everybody. Amy and TJ here, coming to you from a studio in a cold New York City where we are just a couple of days away from Christmas.
That's right. It's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. It's been... see, if you could see TJ right now, he's shaking his head at me, and his eyes were kind of closed, but I think you were rolling them too.
I think if you could see the listener right now, they were doing the exact same thing once they heard you say it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, I love that song. I'm going to be sad when the Christmas music stops.
Then I'll have the biggest smile on my face. But hey, we are back here. This is our second episode this week, our second brand new episode. We told you last episode that, in fact, we were going to start doing 2 episodes a week, at least for the rest of this year. And part of that was getting, the last one at least, was answering your questions. Again, we haven't seen these ahead of time. And in the interest, we got so many questions that we wanted to get to as many as possible, as many as we could. So instead of just doing 1 episode of it, we're doing 2.
All right, you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Round 2, Andy.
Lee asks, TJ, you mentioned receiving a threat in the first episode, which sort of implies that you were the target of the photos released. Will you continue this discussion?
I have said all I am going to say about it. It happened. We were threatened, and it seems that someone made good on that threat. And that's it. Nothing to do about it now. And he's sitting here in this place. And look, don't have any ill will or harbor any negative feelings about it. People have their motivations, and nothing we could do. But if whatever happened needed to happen to land us in this place, you have to look at it in that way. And we are where we want to be, need to be, and should be. And if that was a catalyst for it, fine. Certainly wish no ill will towards anyone else.
So Holly asks, my question is, why didn't you guys both speak out right away? It bothered me that you didn't go hard at the allegations right from the start.
Well, Holly, it bothered us too. And I think maybe it would have been better had we done that. But what we were trying to do was keep our jobs. We did have press releases ready to go that we had written that day. And even through that initial first couple of days, obviously we went back on the air, even when we were allegedly temporarily taken off the air to let things cool down. We were still hopeful for that entire, was it 6 weeks, 8 weeks, that we would be going back to work. I mean, we knew that as the days and weeks went on, it was getting less and less likely. Our hearts, our guts, our minds, everything about us wanted to speak out. But once we didn't speak out for those initial first few days, at what point do you then? It got really hard. And this wasn't in my wheelhouse or in yours. I've never had to do press on myself or be a publicist for myself. I'd never been in a situation like this. So I was trying to follow what other people were telling me the right thing to do was.
We've been holding on. As you were talking, Andy, I pulled up a draft. We've been talking about this for a while. It's there, but there's a draft email in my inbox right now, in my draft box, from November 30th, 2022. Wow. That draft is saved. That is the exact day that it was released, or
the pictures were released.
That stuff was released. This draft was never sent as an email because of what she just described. This is so wild. I'm reading it. 2 different statements. We decided not to release a statement together. And instead, it was going to be 2 separate. She would have hers, I would have mine. And the email, as I look, in bold letters and underlined capital letters, it says, Amy. And it quotes, my divorce is nearly finalized after we decided to separate. TJ and I have been friends for years, and our relationship has evolved only in recent weeks. I ask for privacy for my family as we continue to heal. End quote. That was Robach's statement that was never released. Under that, bold letters, capital letters, TJ, underlined. This was mine. After a month-long separation, I'm in the final stage of my divorce, a process that has been difficult on my family and for their sake had hoped to keep private. I have leaned on my closest friend during this painful stretch, and very recently that friendship became more. Out of respect for my family, I am requesting privacy at this time. That never saw the light of day, and it's never been heard until this moment, Andy. And I see the look on your face, and maybe some people will have that same reaction. But we were ready to go, and we got the brakes put on that, and we could have moved. I guess we could have done
if we wanted,
but we were trying to
keep our jobs.
Yeah.
So to answer the question, that is why.
Gosh, that's so hard. Adria asks, why does TJ still not follow Amy on Instagram?
You know what? I would like to hear this. I have tried, and it hasn't worked.
You know what? I'm going to stick with the theme of looking up drafts in my.
No, but why?
You're going to love this. I am not kidding, y'all.
Are you going to get into who you do follow? It seems creepy, but then it's not.
I follow one person on Instagram,
and
there's a reason. Simone, she was the daughter of a really good friend I had back in my CNN days, but she helped me. My friend helped me set up my Instagram account. I'm like, how do you do that? And how do you follow somebody? So initially, she said, just follow my daughter as an example, right? This kid's like 11 years old, 12 years old. But at the time, she was little, but they had an Instagram account for her. She said, just follow her. It was just to set it up. And so I never started following anybody else. So now it's just funny to me. So I don't want to follow anybody because it would break the tradition of having just that one person I follow. But
if you were going to follow one other person, who would it be?
Probably my sister.
Oh, wow.
No.
I walked right into that.
Did.
I did.
But again, I'm thinking about this, Andy, because I have drafts. So I have a draft email I keep that says Christmas in the subject line. And I have certain people listed and for potential Christmas gifts. And I have your thing here, and it's a bunch of stuff listed, but on
follow Amy.
Follow Roboc on Instagram. That would be a Christmas gift.
Oh, I can't wait to see what happens December 25th.
Obviously, I'm not going to do it now that this is out. No, now that they were doing this.
Okay.
But it's actually listed. It's funny they asked the question, but it is actually that big of a thing between us, and it bothers her.
So
it
is
does
your
bother me.
feed like just empty?
Yeah, kind of.
I don't understand how that works.
Yeah. I don't sit and scan through social media and look through and
is there judgment there in your eyes?
No, it's not judgment. There's just a difference. You and I do too.
Yeah. I like to scroll through Instagram. Yes.
To the point, it really, one of my favorite, look, the phone can bring you closer to somebody 1,000 miles away and take you farther away from the person sitting in the next room with you. That's her. I'm sitting right there with her, and she can't do two things at one time. That's not saying, not to be offensive there. I'm saying you focus on this one thing. I can't get you to focus on something else. So I know to step away, let her have her moment, let her do her Wordle. What's the new one?
Well, I like Wordle. It's all the New York Times games. We do
Connections.
Connections. Yes, I love Connections.
The
and then the mini crossword. And so I actually have a group of girls. My daughters are on it too. We call it Girdle. Girls who do Wordle.
He's laughing now because he thinks it's clever.
So I have a Girdle text chain, and every day we all send each other the results of. And he makes so much fun of me, but I am sharpening my brain. And, I am 50, as you pointed out. I got a few years on you, so I got to keep that mind sharp.
You're sharpening your brain. I'm sharpening the knives for what's coming at us, but you play your games.
All right. Kay asks, when did Dr. Jen find out about your relationship? The three of you had great chemistry on the show, and did she ever suspect anything?
No, I will say, Dr. Ashton is somebody that I told. She might be one of the first I think I told her about the divorce. She is one I think I told about the divorce before I even told my parents.
We were going to her wedding.
Yeah.
And there was going to be questions. Why did I not bring my ex?
Yes.
Why did he not bring his ex? And so we were going to her wedding. It was the night before the New York City Marathon. So this is just, a week or two before the tabloids went ahead and show these pictures of us together.
Well, that was a few timeline there. This was only a few days before we started being followed because the story didn't come out till. Cause remember her wedding like November 5th or on a Saturday.
We went to her wedding together, and so I'm sure there might have been some raised eyebrows, but we needed to tell her. She already knew that I was getting divorced, but you went ahead and told her beforehand, just so that it would be unusual that we would not bring what you would think was your spouse to a wedding. So she did find out about that.
But we didn't tell her ahead of time about our actual relationship.
No. And I don't know that she was suspicious. She never said anything to me. She never asked me any questions. So I don't believe she was.
All right. Joy asks, do you think if not for the social media fodder, would you guys have kept your jobs?
Yes.
Yes, without a doubt. It was explained to us that it was the distraction, and I don't think it was necessarily social media. I think it was the tabloids specifically. And it's interesting to me that publications that are widely viewed as tabloids or not something that you can rely upon could have that big of an impact on our careers that we had spent decades creating and establishing. That was shocking to me, but that is the reason. And I think because social media, then people share those stories, the two combined, yes, created a perfect storm where we lost our jobs. It wasn't because of anything technical. It was because of the spectacle.
Gotcha. Perfect. Heather asks, TJ, do you find interracial dating more challenging, especially when I heard you speak about only hearing two black artists sing at the wedding you both attended?
You know what? There's so many stories I could tell that would be funny here, but it's actually interesting, and it becomes disappointing that the conversations we have privately are not the ones we can have publicly as a country, because there's so much that she says to me that if she were to say on social media or in public, people would try to cancel her or immediately call her this or that, when she's just opening herself up to something she doesn't know. And she feels safe talking to me about it. And then I explain something to her and she said, oh, and I've been so many times like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't get that. I never saw it that way. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But I find it, and there's so much about her and her life and her background and her, well, we talk cultural, I mean, talk about music and things like that. That's one thing, and that's funny, we can laugh at. But there's so much else about our upbringings, how we were raised, what we were exposed to, that are so different, that make it interesting. It makes it fun, but it's safe. We're in a safe place to have those conversations. And so I do love it. We talk about race all the time.
We do.
And
I think we would like to, we'll be thoughtful about it all, but we would like to have those conversations, because these are conversations that we have, that we have together, that I know that if more people could have, it would bring people together. You can't know what you don't know. I think that's the thing, and that's the place that I've come to, and I've always believed this, but reinforced now after having so many conversations. If we can just all come to the table saying, I don't know what I don't know, and just start there. And that's where we started. But obviously, this is nearly a decades-long friendship that's built into now a beautiful relationship, and we have trust. That's what's lacking in most conversations, and rightfully so. But
you start from that place where I
Yeah.
know this is a good person. You start from that
Yeah.
place initially that this person isn't evil. And I've pulled her to the side. Hey, you said this, and if you this could be taken that way. We do that sometimes, and so it's the other part of that. And this, to be completely honest, there is that I'm in the public eye. I'm a black man who has been, and for my entire career, embraced by a black viewership, a black fan base, the black community in so many ways. And I have been, as everybody knows, anybody who knows me, knows my level of involvement, engagement in organizations or communities that have nothing to do with something I'm doing on television. That's just who I am. That's how that's what I came up in. This is my community. But do you look at that? Wait a minute, you're so down for your community. Then what you doing over here with this blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl? And that's just the truth, if you're being honest about it.
Yeah.
But that sometimes gets in your own head about, and you think that's out there. There ain't a black person out there who knocks me for loving who I love. If you're being honest about it, nobody's like, what? You love who you love, and that's okay. There are folks in this country who have fought to love who they love,
Yeah.
who have died for loving who they love. So it's not, for me, I think that gets in my own head sometimes, and it shouldn't. But I think it's doing a disservice to the black folks, the black community, to think they don't accept or appreciate or can understand or even will be supportive that you're loving somebody or in a relationship with someone outside of your race.
And I would say that, initially when the news of our relationship came out, when I had my work email, I was aghast. And this was the minority, but there were some really hateful, awful emails that included death threats, specific death threats, because I was with a black man. And I had never experienced that before. And it was just a little taste of just some of what I have never or could never or had never experienced before. And it was eye-opening, to say the very least. And I would just say that despite, obviously, all the things we've learned about each other and respected about each other, despite the color of our skin or our cultural backgrounds, we have so much more in common. We have so many shared values. How we were raised, actually, there were a lot of things that were the same. That when you have shared values and you have shared modes of operation and you care about the same things, the other stuff you will figure out. But if you have that base, and we do have that shared base, you can build on that from there, and it's a beautiful thing.
But sure, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young was playing in the background at your house, and maybe I was listening to a little more Lionel Richie. But whatever.
I love Lionel Richie. What are you talking about?
See, this is the thing. How many black people have been to your house? No.
Oh my God.
I love Lionel Richie. Come on. If that's your black credential.
Are you Sidney
I'm
Poitier
kidding.
in this?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Oh, Mama Robot, Papa Robot, guess who's coming to dinner?
All right, Marta.
You have to forgive us. Sorry.
Marta Sue asks, do you feel more comfortable in the podcast chair or the broadcast chair?
Podcast.
Podcast is amazing. We've never gotten to actually just be us. Maybe people would prefer us in the broadcasting chair where we were more buttoned up
Like,
and reading
get
the
them back
prompter.
on TV
Please,
now.
someone give them a script. But no, this is fun. I love this.
Kate asks, what is your favorite part about running, both separately and together? Kate's doing her first half marathon soon.
Oh.
Congrats, Kate.
Yay, Kate.
And she'd love to hear more about your experience. What's a running playlist must have? What's something that the two of you want to do together that maybe you haven't?
Yeah. Well, Kate, this is right up my alley. I'm so excited you're going to run a half marathon. It's amazing to challenge yourself. And I love running for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's such a euphemism for life, when you're struggling and you're not going to have great runs all the time when you're training. But it's just this notion that you keep going anyway. When your body tells you to stop, when your brain tells you to stop, you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And there's something that I carry with me when I'm going through other tough times. I remember, hey, you're in the middle of a tough run. You just keep going. It's as simple as that. And so you learn that your body and your mind are stronger than you think. You realize that you actually can control urges to stop or to, like, when pain happens. And I love the idea of getting on the other side of pain because it's progress, it's accomplishment. And I love music, but I'm a big fan of, I'm not just saying this because we have a podcast. I love podcasts and I love listening to books because after a while when you're training, the music kind of gets old. So I save that for race day a lot of times, but I love listening to a good murder mystery. I love listening to, Oprah's Super Soul Conversations has gotten me through a lot of long runs. I love,
Are you promoting Oprah's podcast?
well,
you
that was
think
the first
she
podcast
needs
that I fell in love
promotion?
with. I know, but that is actually what got me
Jeez,
into listening to podcasts.
We're trying to
And
build an audience here.
I know.
And we're directing them to a
Well,
woman.
I would suggest
who
you could
doesn't-
listen to our podcast on running, but it's such a beautiful way to see what you're capable of.
And congratulations,
Yeah.
Kate, on doing it. It's going to feel great when you get to that finish line. It's and again, I've always work out, but Robach was the one that got me into being an actual runner. I would run, but just for some aerobic exercise. But she's the one really responsible for me becoming a runner. And to now, when I miss a day of running, it feels weird. Like we've gotten to that point to where we feel like the day can't start or we haven't done something unless we run. So congratulations to what you do. As far as what you listen to, I am a hype music guy. Either needs to be hip hop or hype music, or it needs to be something like like just that has some kind of great crescendo, has a great, like it gets your mood going. One song, crazy as it sounds, is Wait For It from Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
That's a
willing
good
to
one.
wait. Like something that just gets you going like that. I love those two things. And the other thing I listen to a lot on some of our long training runs, I listen to a lot of comedy
Yeah.
specials. So I listen to a
Stand
lot
up.
of stand-up, whether that's Chris Rock and, of course, Dave Chappelle are my favorites, but Dion Cole I just discovered not too long ago, who I love. So those are my things I listen to keep
And
me going when I'm running.
I love TJ's playlists. When he
Oh,
does
yeah.
send them to me, he does. And they're very sweet. And in terms of what we want to do next, I think we're kind of into the New York City Marathon thing. I've done 3, you've done 2.
I will not stop.
I can't imagine we wouldn't do it again. But I'm actually a huge fan of half marathons. They're
Oh, yeah.
perfect. So I want to do
best.
the Paris half marathon. I kind of want to look at creating vacations around you get your run in and then you have fun. So I always have this run to fun kind of mentality. So incorporating that into a vacation actually is even better. You feel like you've earned the fun that's going to ensue after you're done.
For sure. I recommend doing the Miami half. I did the
Okay.
Miami half.
Oh,
it was great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Super
how
fun.
long ago was that?
3 years ago?
Isn't it
Yes.
hot?
No, because
And
you do it in the
humid?
morning.
What
So you
time of
don't-
year do they do it?
They do it in January.
Oh, I'd be into that.
Oh, Christ.
Perfect. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Great weather. And then you have the beach.
All right.
Perfect. So Julie is asking, she loves the podcast. She's asking, what motivates you to run in marathons? How do you train, and what diet tips might you have for someone who's over 50?
So I got into marathoning, and by the way, I want to say this: I had never run more than a 10K before the age of 40, and it was only after my breast cancer journey where I had felt like my body failed me. I didn't trust my body anymore. There's a lot of mental things that go on with you when you go through something like that, and you're worried about recurrence. You're worried about if it comes back, and so I just really had a difficult relationship with my body and my health. And it was actually the Shape Women's half marathon. They asked me to be the Grand Marshal, and I thought, oh my God, I could never run a half marathon. My dad was a marathoner, so I had someone who I looked up to, but I remember always saying to him, how do you do that? And he started running marathons in his 50s. But it was that little spark, that little challenge. And so I agreed to run a half marathon, but I actually asked if I could do a relay with my best friend, Sarah Haynes. And so she said, I'll do 7 miles. I'll meet you at 6. We'll run a mile together, and then you take us through the rest. What happened was I got to mile 7 and I was feeling so good. I said, I'm just going to keep running. So I just kept running, and I was hyperventilating over the finish line and barely made it, but I made it. And I thought, you know what? I did it, but it was really painful and unnecessarily so because I didn't train. So I started training, and that's when I started doing half marathons. And once I did enough, I thought, the New York City Marathon asked me, hey, would you consider it? And sure enough, I said, okay. So it's 5 months. We do the Hal Higdon method. I print out Novice 1, and I just check off every training run, and you just do it week to week to week to week for 5 months, and you trust the training, and it works. And so I've got 5 marathons under my belt now, and everyone's different based on the weather and the course, and I've had good ones and tough ones and fun ones, but it's challenging every single time.
The motivation from Julie's question there for me is now just it's just a part of my life. I'm a runner, and so my motivation now is, yes, I guess health, but I'm just in it. You become a runner. You become
Get kind of addicted to
I
it.
don't. There's nothing else. I got 10 pairs of Nike Alpha Flies in my closet right now.
Yep.
That I use every single pair. I mean, it just becomes a part. And once you get that bug, you do not need motivation. You do not need anybody to tell you to get up. I mean, it's 30-degree mornings. We have gotten up before and run. We've had things to do during the day and say, well, we got to get the run in, and we're up at 3 a.m. to knock
We
the
have
run
done
out.
that.
So we can go do something else during the day, schedule-wise. That's just how it goes. The training, yes. The Hal Higdon diet is the other thing she asked about. Was the
Yeah.
diet.
Well, that's always a tough one for me because I don't really like to do carbs, but it's kind of a must. And so it's kind of fun. I eat things I wouldn't normally eat because I'm training. And you always make fun of me. You're like, oh, don't, let me guess. You'll have it because you're training. Like French fries.
It's an
Probably
excuse.
shouldn't eat
It's
those.
a total excuse. Yes, I will start with a double cheeseburger and now the slab of ribs for my main. Thank you. It's okay. I'm training.
You do get to me, that is one of the biggest benefits of running or training for a marathon is you get to eat all the stuff you would
ridiculous how
normally
you-
not eat. Now, I'm not advocating eating
It's an
bad things like
excuse.
French fries, but it's
It's an excuse.
It's fun.
Use an excuse. It's tougher for me because I don't eat a lot of meat.
Yeah.
And I usually don't eat meat. So it's tough when you're doing 14, 16, 18, 20-mile training
Yeah.
runs. You need some carbs and you need some protein. So I have to change my diet a little bit. Well, I did this time. First time I didn't, and I think I struggled a little
Yeah.
bit. But this time I got some protein in me and whatnot. But yeah, you just got to keep your carbs up and keep your energy up.
Julie asks, will Amy convert back to being a Razorbacks fan?
You say back to?
Yep.
She wasn't.
Well,
never
I was
back
never.
to.
So Georgia Bulldogs will always be my number one. I can't ever not say that. But I will always root now for the Razorbacks if they're not playing Georgia. How about that?
That works.
How about you? Can we reverse that?
There's no way. You know what? This just happened. Just happened on our way here. I said, hey, I need something to put my Red Bull in
it's
to
so
come
true.
here. At our place, open the cabinet and looking down, looking for a cup. Pull it out. I was about to put it in. I turn it around. It says Georgia on it. I said, nope. And I put it back. I put the cup back, and I refuse to even drink my Red Bull out of a Georgia Bulldogs cup
Why is that?
because I'm a Razorback. And
But
I
would
have
you
to go home
would
at
you
some point.
would you root for the Bulldogs?
I root for you. I root for making you happy, right?
You were also rooting for Alabama.
Well, I had reasons for that. As
Can't
a
believe I'm
football-
still with you.
Well, as a football fan. No. As a football fan. We shouldn't get into the...
Okay.
But I still think Georgia should be in the top 4,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, they should.
But I
We
think
lost by 3.
I think Alabama should as well. But I think it made it more interesting to have Alabama win that
Glad
game.
your interest was my devastation.
But I did not make fun. I did not choke ish
You did
because
not?
I know how this goes
Oh.
to lose a game. And we
to
sat...
Alabama.
and we sat and we watched that game together. And I was as supportive as I could be.
You did stay quiet.
I did. That's support, Andy. That's
Sometimes
support.
silence is support.
Silence is golden. Amy, Deborah asks, how did breast cancer change your life for the better?
Oh my God, Deborah. In every single way, I think it actually prepared me for this past year because I think until it happens to you or until someone close to you goes through something serious where death is on the table, it's that watershed moment where you realize that tomorrow is not a given and all we have is right now. And when you start to actually fear for your life in a real way, you start realizing that we'll do that in 5 years. We'll do that in 10 years. Like that's just a pipe dream. And I actually really didn't even let myself plan a future or think about a future. And that's a good thing. You start living your life the way you envisioned it and you don't apologize. Time is the greatest commodity. So I learned to say no in a way that I hadn't before. I learned to prioritize who I spent time with, how I spent my time, and what I wanted to accomplish. And I stopped letting my job define me. And that was a huge part of my transition. I used to brag about not taking my vacation days. I thought that was something to be proud of. I left 2 weeks on the table. I only took 5 days. What an idiot was I? Like no job, like when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to say, man, I wish I would have worked more. You're never going to say that. You're going to say, I wish I would have loved more. I would have laughed more. I would have traveled more. I would have taken my time as what it actually is, a gift. And so, yes, it changed. It reprioritized my entire life and it forced me to put the people I wanted to spend time with first and foremost. And for that, I'm grateful. It was a gift. It still continues to be a gift and it guides me every day. Evolving is what I would say. And we had relationships with each other's kids when we were just friends. And so as tough as it's been for so many people in our lives, it's the most difficult for them because now they're having to look at us in a different way with one another. And we have been very thoughtful, and we've taken things very slowly, and we're being very patient. But things are good, they're peaceful, and we want to continue to build on that.
And again, my little one here, Sabine, is 10 years old. She's known Robach since she was one.
Yeah.
Literally since she was one. And now she's knowing Robach in a different way, in a different role. But it's been the greatest. And again, they are Sabine. Again, I'll let Sabine always guide. She's 10 years old and always just open. Robach is here. We're hanging. Do you want to do this? Hey, Robach is da-da-da. And lately, the past few months, she has volunteered. She's like, oh, Robach is there? Can I come by? Oh, you and Robach are doing what? Can I get a piece of that? Oh, y'all going to see a horror movie? I'm in. Like voluntarily.
Yeah.
Like this is her having a desire to do these things. And I have never, ever, she has never hung out with us without absolutely giving the okay, or in most cases now, requesting. Now it's like, really? We owe some private time. Or, can you, Sabine? I'm kidding, Sabine. I'm kidding.
No. Like last night, she popped in. It was so fun.
Oh my gosh, she popped in last night, and we just ended up on.
She was reading our horoscopes.
And we were just cutting up. So she's, so yeah, Sabine is absolutely great, and she is doing is I'm so proud to see her these days and how she's doing and how she's mature and how she handles so many things. But she is, it's really, really been, I think you would agree, one of the most touching things here recently is to see how she's doing and how she wants to be a part and included and enjoys the time with us. So
Yeah.
she's great.
And Anna asks, if you could give yourself advice or tell yourself something from 1 year ago, what would it be?
Watch out for that Robach. No, that is. I get this question every once in a while over the years. It's hard. I always would say that it is so difficult to think that I would give myself advice going back to something, because that would change the experience of my life. And there were so many things I needed to figure out. I needed to learn on my own. I didn't need a warning necessarily about. I had to actually go through it to get to where I am. So as I sit here still, and all those things we say, oh, maybe we should have done this, maybe we should have done that. It is so hard to sit here happy and healthy and think, I wish something in my life would have been different. Like you never ever, and I am sorry for it, that there's no time in my life that I ever wanted to do harm to somebody, that I wanted to hurt somebody, but I have. And I've hurt people who I love, who are family members, and I have said plenty of I'm sorry's in life, and I think everybody has that experience. But short of that, you just have to go through it. And I don't want to warn 17-year-old TJ not to do this, because then he might have been a little too cautious and might not have done this, and it's hard to say that I would tell myself a heads up or a warning or anything like that.
Humility is hard earned oftentimes. It's through the tough times that you learn that, and it's an important lesson, probably one of the most important lessons you learn in life. But I think if I had to say anything to myself a year ago, I just would have I would have reminded myself there's more love than hate. There's more support than discord. And there were times when you saw the headlines or you felt this, I like to call it the vocal minority, and you start to feel the pressure that everyone is thinking this, everyone is saying these things. And I just would have wanted to remind myself there is more love than hate. There is more support than not. There were moments when I didn't believe that, and I know that's true now. I would have liked to have reminded myself that a year later.
Bianca asks, what are your next professional goals? And do you have any New Year's resolutions?
No on the resolutions. I'm not a fan of those, so I'd never make them. Because if I want to do something different and want to change life, let's do it on December 15th. Why do I need to wait? That's just my mindset of it. We have this arbitrary day, like, oh, now I'm going to make changes. And I have never been a fan. I don't knock anybody else for that, but absolutely don't have any resolutions. As far as, what was it, professional
goals.
Professional goals. To have not just a hit, but an all-time hit podcast. How about that, Andy? That is what the goal is at this point. This is a new venture, a new medium, and we are loving it. And So this is where we start. Now, television is what we know and what we do, what we're used to. But it would be very hard to go back, especially from this now, from a podcast and go into a more scripted scenario, to go into something, well, you can do this, but you can't do this. You can say this, but you can't say that. You can say this much, but you can't say that. It'd be hard to do. So right now, I'm loving where we are.
Yeah, my professional goal is to continue to be able to pay my bills broadcasting with the person I have the most fun with professionally, which is you, by the way. And yeah, to pay my bills. I want to be able to do this for a living and not have to worry about anything else. And that would be having a hit podcast. So I guess we're on the same page. That's a good thing.
Are we though?
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
What is your professional goal? Not to go broke.
I mean, I think that's an honest goal, right? But to do it with the person who I love doing it with. I think that was also during all of this time, this year where we didn't have a job, we were together nonstop. But we actually still said to each other, I miss working with you.
No,
I miss that. We sparred a lot, but just the challenge, just
the sparring,
the verbal sparring. We had fun with that.
On air.
Yeah,
Oh,
on
okay,
air. I missed some of that banter. I missed getting prepared for things and going places and covering amazing world events with you, all of that. So anyway, I hope that we can try to do more of that together. I wouldn't have nearly as much fun or feel nearly as much satisfaction doing something alone. I think once I've realized how fun it is to have that dynamic and that chemistry, I don't really want to do anything on my own. I mean, I will if I have to, but that's my goal, to stay with him and to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And in terms of New Year's resolutions, sometimes I make them. I haven't thought of what mine is for this year. I think it's just continuing to be a better person. I think for me, it's more internal. I just want to.
Can you start that today? I mean, why do we have to wait till January 1?
It's just maybe it's just like a mark in the calendar, just like a reset,
Nice.
Basically.
Okay. So you can be a jerk from now until the end of the year, but January 1, you're going to turn things around and be a better person.
No, it's just a reminder that, I think you said this actually in the last podcast, and I've tried to live this for the last several years, but zero judgment. I don't want to sit on any throne and cast judgment on how anyone else lives their lives. And I've been doing that, but I sometimes I think it's just nice to have a reminder. January 1, this is who I am, this is who I'm going to be, this is how I'm going to live.
Wait, cast judgment on anybody else's life? What are you talking about?
Oh, people gossip and talk crap about people all the it's
Oh,
such
anybody-
an
okay, I'm
easy
sorry,
it's
I
such
got
an easy reflex because it makes you feel better about whatever you've done. I think when you make a decision, I'm not going to partake or do that anymore, and I'm
gotcha.
definitely there, and I will remind myself on January 1, this is who I am and how I'm going to live. But I'm doing it now.
I'm going to remind you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Debbie asks, would you guys get a tattoo for each other?
How do you know we haven't already, Debbie?
Ooh.
We'll leave it at that. Get a tattoo. That's more of a commitment than a marriage. Should we just tell everybody we got tattoos, we're married, and we live together?
Oh, wow.
Those are his New Year's resolutions, actually. He didn't want to say it, but back to the last question.
All right. The last question comes from Grace. She asks, did you guys have any reservations about working together again?
No, none whatsoever.
No, it was the goal, right? It was actually the goal. And we even formed partnerships together, our agency together. And part of it was to make sure they were looking for opportunities for the two of us. Look, there'll be some individual opportunities as well, but this is great. We do love working together, and
hopefully we can do it for a long, long time.
okay, that's an inside joke. But oh my god, I got it from I think I got it from a Family Guy episode. But I say this to her all the time. Chris Griffin said, if anybody watches Family Guy, he was dating this girl, and she was out of his league. And she thought he was just being kind of a jerk and wanted to be with her because she was popular. And he said some line about, no, I don't think any of that stuff. I think you're nice. I enjoyed time with you. I think you're really pretty. I hope we get to be together for a long, long time. So I say this to her all the time about our relationship. That's so just to let you in on why we were.
He says that to me at least once a week. I hope we get to be together for a long, long time. I thought it was the perfect way to answer that
That
question.
was fantastic. All right. Is that?
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you for that, Grace.
So, TJ, I think you have your New Year's resolution now.
Yes, therapy for us. Is
I
that
thought
it?
you were
No.
going to say to keep working with me on this podcast.
Well, contractually, I don't have a choice there. Who was it that was making the argument that working together is actually a stronger commitment than actually getting married?
I think that's true.
Yeah. So yes, I will be here with you. Onward.
I do.
Oh, haven't you said that enough? Okay, we're out of here. We'll see y'all soon. Bye bye.